Welcome back to Richards. Today we have a staple in the craft beer community. This is KBS from Founders. That's right, everybody. It took us a few years, but we're finally getting around to reviewing KBS, the OG barrel-aged stout.
No, it can't. No.
Through research today, I found out that Goose Island developed a barrel-aged stout first, but KBS, I believe in 2002, was the first to have it on tap, and then 2 years later, it became one of the highest rated beers in the country.
That's so. I feel like that's weird because, like you see like a Bottle Logic or like Horus or something like that, where they have big bottles with their barrel aged stouts because it takes longer to make because they're barrel aged and they should be more expensive. I feel like this 6-pack, because you got this in a 6-pack, 4-pack, okay. I feel like it wasn't as expensive as a Bottle Logic stout.
Oh, that is correct. Usually they are cheaper, but Founders is a bigger brewery. They are owned by, it's probably cut there, we've looked it up, and Founders merged with Avery Brewing Company to form Mahou Brewing.
It looked
something
lion.
Like that. Yeah. But this, nevertheless, is the OG. It is more mass-produced. They're a little bit bigger, so they're able to produce it for a lower cost.
Well, what I'm thinking is, when I hear something is barrel-aged, I assume it's been barrel-aged for months, maybe even years. They can throw this into a cask. Is that what they're called?
Mm-hmm.
For 10 minutes and call it barrel-aged.
Technically, you're right.
So that's what I think that they've done, because you can't be making money off of a tiny little bottle like this in a 4-pack for what, $20?
Well, now, to get it straight, these tiny bottles, I believe, are relatively new over the last 5 years. They also come in the big, 22-ounce bombers.
Right, but why would you buy a 22-ounce bomber if you can buy these little guys?
If you just want the one. I don't know. That's just how they were originally made. A lot of beers back in the day, 10 years ago, were in those bigger bottles.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about this.
So, let's try and convince her. KBS stands for Kentucky Bourbon Stout. The Barrel Age series, obviously, this is highly acclaimed. The amazing Cosmickies, highly acclaimed KBS, a flavored stout. Is good for everything a flavored stout ought to be good for. An ale brewed with chocolate and coffee, aged in oak bourbon barrels.
What's happening here? We're highly acclaimed. Whatever you want us for is what we're good for.
Yes.
No, that's not how things work.
This particular bottle I've been sitting on, sometimes it can come and go as far as easily accessible. So this was bottled on November 12th, 2020. COVID times. This beer taught us that patience truly is a virtue. KBS is a big imperial stout brewed with a massive amount of coffee and chocolate and then bourbon barrel aged to perfection. Incredibly silky and full-bodied with notes of vanilla, cocoa, roasted coffee, and charred oak.
Oh, notice how it doesn't say how long it was aged for.
Well, to be fair, a lot of Bottle Logic stouts don't say how long they were aged for either unless you look it up.
True, and they could be aged for 10 minutes. And they're charging me $30 for a medium-sized bottle, but they taste good. So if this tastes great, oh my gosh, I'll be there in 2 seconds. Maybe they'll be my favorite brewery.
There you go.
Because I've seen KBS all over the place. Very accessible.
Very accessible. Well, that's enough talking about it. Let's get to drinking about it. All right, everybody, it's time to find out what Mary's going to think of her first KBS.
It's a lot of pressure. It's like, remember, this is like the first Horse stout you gave me. I have to like it.
No, you never have to like anything on here. It's just as long as you try it. I actually haven't had one since about 2020 probably either, so it's been a while. I feel like I get vanilla on the nose more than anything.
At first it smelled like farts.
Great first impression. Good job.
I made that face with the camera, and I'm sure you'll see it when you edit it, but it smelled bad, but now it does smell like vanilla a little bit.
I get vanilla mostly.
Mostly. Just a little bit of fun.
Like a creamy vanilla.
Yeah, this is pretty good. It smells pretty good.
Let's see how it tastes. You get a little bit of everything in there.
What are the IBUs on this one?
Does it taste a lot more bitter to you?
Kind of.
You really can taste the oak and the barrel on this.
I think that's what I'm tasting.
A little bit of the coffee. First sip, I got more vanilla. That's all fading now. And just really the oak barrel is the start here.
Yeah, I think I'm getting the barrel a lot because like it hits me right at the beginning. And then it fades a little bit, but I can still taste it at the end. And I think this is overpowering whatever other, like, I think that the coffee is contributing to the kick you in the face part, but it's so much of the barrel that it's like, whoa, this is a lot.
What I like about this is that, like we talked before, this is very accessible, and it's a very much, you want a barrel-aged stout? Here you go. You get every bit of that barrel that you're paying for right in there.
So this is a barrel-aged stout. It's not a bourbon barrel-aged stout. It's just an oak barrel-aged stout.
Aged in oak bourbon barrels.
Oh, wow. All I'm getting is oak. Not any type of... Oh my god, I just spit on myself. Not any type of liquor, bourbon, nothing.
It's just oak flavored stout.
Wow.
I get a little bit of the coffee, tiny bit of vanilla on the first sip, and then maybe a tiniest bit of chocolate. But this is reminding me of the first time I had this, where it just, to me, if there's a definition of like bourbon barrel aged stout, this is it. There's not a lot of anything else in there.
I think that this is more of... Sorry. I think that this is more of the oak barrel rather than a bourbon barrel.
Well,
like,
oak is bourbon and bourbon is oak in a way. I mean, if you have a good bourbon, you're going to get a lot of oak in there.
But you can just have oak barrel. Like, it could be just Asian oak barrels, not bourbon barrels.
Potentially, but it's just cheaper to use used whiskey casks.
Right, but there are things that are just aged in oak barrels.
Like new whiskey, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I believe you. This is a bourbon barrel aged stout, but it just tastes like it was aged in oak barrels only. No bourbon at all.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what some people want. Some people really like tasting that wood.
I'm seeing charred oak right here. I think that's perfect.
Mm-hmm. And remember, it's going to be different depending on what type of bourbon they aged it in. That's where your other craft breweries kind of get a leg up. Because this is the original. They could age it in Jim Beam barrels for all we know. But, the leg up of Horus and your Bottle Logics and all those other places, they get, some of the cream of the crop, whether it's a Pappy barrel or a Four Roses or something like that, where maybe it's a little nicer whiskey and you get different flavors from it. But yeah, nevertheless, this is just showing me that the original is still a super solid stout.
Let me chew it.
Everybody, it's time for the big chew. And while she's chewing that, I'm going to put up a picture right here. This is the lineup we have of KBS beers that we're going to be trying here in the future. I'm super excited about it. It's taken me a little while to collect them as they've come out. But now that Mary's had her breakfast stout and her regular KBS, she's going to try with me all of these other different flavored stouts.
It tastes a lot better when I chew it.
After it warms up a bit?
No, after you have to chew it with your teeth and gnash with the teeth and put it into the... Yes, there you go. You must chew it. Yes, I can hear the chews.
Yeah, good.
I think it's better warm, I guess, whatever.
Do you want to let it warm up a bit?
Yeah, probably.
All right, we're going to sip on it a little longer and then come back with our final thoughts. All right, we're back. Mary, what are you going to rate Founders KBS?
I think that it does taste a little bit better, a little bit more warm. I don't get as much of the oak barrel, but I'm so used to getting the heat from a bourbon barrel, and I'm not getting any of that here.
No.
It's just chocolate and vanilla and a little bit of coffee, a lot of oak barrel. I like it. It's not my favorite, but if this is like just a kind of like their base, I guess, because there's more KBSs. I've seen them in the fridge. I didn't look at the labels, but I've seen them in the fridge. So if this is kind of like their base, they can only go up from here. So if this is their base, then I think I'd give it like a 3.
Oh, wow.
Is that bad?
I don't know.
No.
So you like the breakfast stout more than this?
Yeah, there was more flavor in that.
Okay.
I think like if this is just their base, like it's a great base, and I think that it could be better with more adjuncts and maybe more other barrels or something else.
I'm going to give this a 4. This is just a staple. It's not the best stout, but it is the first stout, and it is still tasty and still, for me, holds up to other barrel-aged stouts that I've had.
Well, just because it's the first stout doesn't mean it should still be good. Like, we don't still fly in the same airplanes that we flew when they first came out. Right?
Right.
Okay. It's good. I like it. It's a 4 for me.
What about the ABV? You said yourself there's not a lot of bourbon kick in here.
Jesus. This is so weird. Like, I'm not used to this. I can get you within maybe 0.5 of a Bottle Logic stout, but
Now, we'll make it easier on you. There's no decimal places.
that's not going to make it easier on
Just
me.
raw number.
This is not going to make it easier on me. Maybe a 10?
Is that your final answer?
Is it wrong? If it's wrong, then no, it's not.
Well,
I don't know, yes. Sure.
10? This is a 12% beer.
I'm so confused by this. Like,
And
I'm
you
not
never
used to
would have
this.
guessed it.
I'm not used to this at all.
I like KBS. Sometimes it can be a lot hard to find, but generally an easier barrel-aged stout to find. And if you can find these bottles individually, fairly affordable. It's going to run you about $6 to $8 a bottle. So overall, not too bad for a pour beer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not horrible. It's just I'm used to other things. And if you like the oak barrel taste, oh my gosh, run out and get this. But I would rather have the heat from a bourbon barrel rather than the licking of the bark of the oak barrel.
Okay, that makes sense as well.
To each his own.
Everybody has their favorites. But we're not done with KBS just yet. We've got quite a few others chilling in the fridge. But that's going to do it for today's video. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell icon. You don't want to miss what future KBSs we are going to reveal. But until then, we're the Rivertures, trying every beer from around the world. One sip at a time.